Hello, this is Leonardo, and this is my video documentation for Noxious. So what I'm going to show you is it's a detailed walkthrough to all the parameters that Noxious has. And if you want to hear it in action, to hear something made with it, I'm going to post later a video that is more musical. Here we are going to hear raw sounds. And you can also see a description of Noxious in combination with some nice sounds in Nigel's Talking Rackets number 6. I'm gonna add the link in the description. But for now, let's start. So, as you could hear, that was kind of introduction, very noisy and creepy introduction. And that's some of the sounds or noises, if you want to call it like that Noxious can produce. But I'm gonna start with a basic wave. So by default, Noxious produces a saw wave. I'm gonna increase the octave so you can see better the waveform. I have it connected to a Lateralis, but right now it's completely open, it's not doing anything. And I'm gonna show you what's my approach when designing a sound with Noxious. So initially my idea behind Noxious, it was to create some oscillator that was a little bit chaotic and that capable of producing the very complex sounds possible with frequency modulation and also with phase modulation. But I wanted to pack everything into a very compact and effective way, or an effective format. And by effective, what I mean is that I want it to be very easy to create crazy sounds. So let's start with the sound. The first section that we have here, it's the oscillator. Control itself is the main oscillator, and if you have used Vesec, this has a very similar tune and octave control, which allows you to just detune or tune the oscillator. In fine mode, you can move one semitone up, one semitone down. In coarse mode, you can move one octave up, one octave down. And in semi mode, you can jump in a quantized way, one octave up and one octave down. So this is very useful when you want to make some kind of chorus or a fifth or a seventh to the sound. Going to the basic as well. You have the octave control, which many don't know, but this is a small trick. If you modulate the octave control, I have an Lfo. You can have this kind of arpeggio. Okay, but let's not focus on that for now. This is our basic waveform, and we have a wave control. And what it does, it changes the kind of harmonics that it inserts. Here, as you can see, this is a saw wave, which means that it has odd and even harmonics. And if we move this control, we insert only the even harmonics, and this is more like a pulse, and it's a symmetric wave. But we can also control the kind of harmonics that we use. Sorry, not the kind, but the number of harmonics that we use. So I can reduce harmonics until I get basically a sine. And yeah, we can stay somewhere in behind. When designing a sound, I actually tend to start with a low harmonic content, and since all the other modulations add richness to the sound, I'm gonna start with that signal, and I'm actually going to the phase modulation first. So these 4 knobs affect the phase, but they don't work very aggressively by themselves. The effect is easier to notice when you combine them. And let's start with the body. So the idea with the body is like it compresses or expands the phase, and the result of that is that it makes it sound with more or less energy. You can let me move it so you can hear the difference. And of course, the sound completely changed depending on your start wave. The next part is the boost. What it does, it changes in some way the amplitude of the phase and makes it produce some kind of clipping. And yeah, this gets more interesting when you combine 2 or when you modulate one of. I'm gonna keep that modulation, and then I'm going to the overtone. So what the overtone does, it applies some kind of fold to the phase, which makes it insert some harmonics, which are multiples of the bass. Finally, the feedback. It adds some kind of positive feedback to the phase, and it makes it and it starts distorting the waveform. If we add too much feedback, it becomes practically a pulse wave. One thing that happens, the next section here is we have noise and we have a sub-oscillator. The noise, it's actually very useful when you are making percussive sounds, because it gives like this nice touch when going through a filter or through an envelope. And the sub-oscillator, what it does, it adds some triangle 1 octave lower, and this is useful because when we apply some of these modulations, we tend to lose, or the sound becomes much higher, and we tend to lose the low end. We can return a bit of this with the sub. So if you have good speakers, you should be able of hearing the effect. So if you just play with the wave and the phase, you can already create lots of crazy sounds with this. But on top of that, we have the frequency modulation. So this is the main control, and this is the frequency of the modulator. So I'm just gonna increase it. And this frequency control is actually affected by this switch. If I change it, what happens is that the frequency of the modulator changes, but only into ratios of the main frequency defined, the main frequency of the oscillator. So you always get some kind of harmonic sounds with this. If you want to create more in harmonic sounds, you can go to free tuning. And by default, the modulator it's a saw wave, but if you change it to a sine, you get like a complete different variety of sounds. And you have as well an external modulation, so you can select a VCO, and let's say I'm going to add a triangle to the FM. And this frequency is not related at all to the frequency of the oscillator. And the next part is the chaos section. The chaos, the way it works is that it requires a gate. So I'm gonna use the simple clock and just inserting a gate into it. And it has two controls, the spread and the settle. So the settle controls the time, and the spread controls how the parameters are changed. So every time that we have a gate, the parameters are slightly changed, and then they go back to its original position, and this defines the speed. If we just have a fast settle, it produces just like this small punch. And if we, well, as we increase the settle, we get more of this sound and morphing. And if we put it to maximum, so what we are doing is practically the parameters never go back to their original value. So if you put maximum spread, maximum settle, we are generating lots of random sounds. One thing that Noxious has is that, as in all my modules, I try to do useful things with the randomization. This is my favorite way of discovering new sounds, just randomizing it. And randomize does not changes all the parameters. It doesn't change like the tuning. We go back to the basic saw wave. Remove a little bit with the harmonics, a little bit of overtone. Let's modulate the boost. And yeah, Noxious comes in two versions. We have the monophonic version. If you are concerned that you are gonna run out of virtual HP in your rack, you can just select Noxious, the monophonic version, and yeah, you can just shrink it. Otherwise, just use the polyphonic version, and in the polyphonic version we have 3 extra voices, and they are only active if you connect either the output or the pitch input. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take exactly the same. So now it's active, but it sounds almost exactly the same. We can use the spread and settle parameters to generate different variations on both. And we can change the tuning. So the tuning here is also affected the same way as this control. So I'm gonna go into semi mode and just insert. And as you can hear, this we have a level control. So this is the main oscillator, and we can blend a little bit more this oscillator. But this also has its own independent output. So if you want to use if you want to take every output and process it differently, just lower the level here of all of them, and you can use all individual, the 4 individual outputs. And if you want to merge them and do some kind of paraphonic synthesizer, you can just control the levels here. So let's add one more, and we can go like 1 octave down. Let's hear what sounds we get. The best companion for this kind of noisy sounds, it's a filter. Yeah, and as I mentioned before, Noxious it has also an Lfo mode. What it does is that it allows it to go to very low frequencies, and it can behave as a quasi-chaotic oscillator, because you know that it's going to produce cyclic waveforms, but with the spread parameter. And the settle is very, and also the polyphony. You can combine it to create something very weird. So let me put it into, lower the volume and put it into Lfo mode. Let's see what we get. Going super slow. Let's randomize it. And you can use this It's a perfect input for some kind of sample and hold, or to control directly a filter. So that's Noxious, and it's well, let me try one thing before finishing this video. Noxious can be used as well to do not so aggressive noises. Just reduce the harmonics. Don't use much this section. Just use the FM. Yeah, and if you use low harmonic content, you can get more classical FM sounds. That's it. So remember that I'm gonna post a video with Noxious in use, and also you can see what Nigel does in Talking Rackheads number 6. And subscribe to this channel to get more updates. And yes, Noxious is part of the premium package. So this is the third module of a series of 5 that I'm doing that are going to be part of the premium. So if you buy the premium, you are going to get the next 2 modules as well. And that's it. Goodbye.